Have you ever wanted a Pokemon game on the go? I mean a good 3D one. Okay, as expected, Nintendo has actually dropped Pokemon Stadium 2 on the Nintendo Switch Online service. And unfortunately, like this little counterpart right here, it does retain a lot of the same problems that Stadium 1 has, and Stadium 2 also has this as well. But how does this compare to the Nintendo 64 version? That's what we're going to look up today, and see what's going to be looking good today. If you haven't seen my Pokemon Stadium review, right up here, I'll give you a TLDR. Much like Stadium 1, Stadium 2 is a second iteration of the 3D Pokemon Battle series and allows you to expand your roster from 150 to 250. Arguably, a lot of people do love this generation, and Stadium 2 is revered and loved by so many people, myself included. The features are pretty much exactly the same as in Stadium 1. You have your gym battles to fight all of your gym leaders, but you can also do free play and bring in your Pokemon from Pokemon Gold, Silver, and Crystal up to here. Oh yeah, you can't do that here. Because you can't inject this goddamn thing into your Switch, you're going to be resorting to rental Pokemon, and in my opinion, that pretty much cuts the value and love of Pokemon Stadium 2 right in half. Sticking with rental Pokemon is not a fun experience, and it does make the game artificially harder, and it makes it more annoying that you can't integrate all the Pokemon that you've battled from these classic versions up to here, and it's still a pain. And scratch the 150 number count, you have 250 Pokemon here at your disposal, including legendaries, and all of them look great and fantastic, and they play great as well. Since this game cannot physically use the transfer pack, you are limited to only rental Pokemon, meaning any Pokemon that you created from Generation 1 and 2 cannot be physically used in this game. It is weird because we do have the Game Boy Online service, and yet Nintendo hasn't dropped Pokemon or allow that kind of interactivity, which can be possible, by the way. And with features, the Game Boy Tower, of course, is not being able to be used, so you can't be able to play these games on your Nintendo 64, but if you've seen the recording right here on Pokemon Stadium 1 using Pokemon Blue, it's not a feature that's missed. Graphic-wise, this game is kind of incredible, actually. So upon starting up the game, you've noticed that it actually says the words expansion pack found. That's one of the biggest takeaways here, and let me explain that. On the Nintendo 64 version, this game utilizes the expansion pack, allowing for higher quality textures and for the game to be rendered in 480i all the way through. With higher quality models also reduces the frame rate, and Pokemon Stadium 2 severely suffers from that. Whether you're throwing any kind of Pokemon into the ring, they're doing attacks, you're going to be seeing significant frame drops in the 10s and 20s at some point. And honestly, that's what makes having an expansion pack at some point that much more of a difficult experience, because you're going to be having a slower experience playing this, and it's not as fun as you think it is. Alright, so let's go back to the NSO. How does this kind of partake into that version? Since most NSO games actually have a steady frame rate, we're going to be getting that here as well. The higher quality textures are pretty much here, but also a steady 30 FPS. You're going to be having a great experience whether you're summoning your Pokemon and whether you're battling. It's a very consistent frame rate, and that's a very good thing too. Visually, it does bring the better experience of Pokemon 2. However, while the NSO titles are known for smoothing out 3D models, making them look pretty incredible, the 2D ones are where it lacks a lot of detail. As you can see right here, some of the text is pretty illegible at some points. A lot of the 2D art is also ruined and destroyed, so you're not going to be having a good visual experience on the 2D aspect, but of course, you're going to be doing a lot of battles. That's where the 3D one comes in, and it's quite good. So it is a trade-off. You're getting a consistent 480i experience with using the expansion pack and also 30 FPS, but you're going to be having pretty terrible 2D smoothing. I actually do like the consistent frame rate. It's not bad. And Nintendo will never learn their lesson. Input delay is still here, and it's still present. Granted, you're not going to be seeing this in a lot of the battles because you're just doing basic inputs, and it doesn't really matter whether they're going through or not. Where you truly feel it, and this is where you're going to be playing multiplayer, is with the mini games. More specifically here in the Scyther pincer section, allowing you to cut some logs. This is a timed game where if you actually time it to the actual log, you'll be getting as many points as you can. But because of having severe input delay, you're almost never going to get it at that correct point unless you incorrectly know that delay, which is a shame because you have to know how the game is not working in order to play it correctly. And that's a terrible thing to say, actually. It is felt through all the other mini games as well, but yeah, it's not something I'm a big fan of. And you know what, maybe Nintendo will fix this, but what am I saying? I say this in every single video, and it's not gonna happen. And that's actually most of what Pokemon Stadium 2 has. It has the same problems as Pokemon Stadium 1, not being able to play your Pokemon from Gen 1 and 2, but it does have a really nice visual quality because of the 480i visual presentation with higher quality textures and models. However, the 2D textures will suffer because of this. Input delay is still there, clear as day, and we'll probably never get it cleared. But what do you guys think? How are you going to be playing Pokemon Stadium 2? Are you going to be using the Nintendo 64 version, actually using the transfer pack how it's supposed to? Or are you going to be actually using the NSO version, which is not a bad way to play it, but keep in mind, half of your experience, it's not going to be there. It's bye. If you guys are interested in the other videos that I've done, right here you can see everything I've done, but also thank you so much to these people right here for supporting the channel, and it's because of you that I keep making these videos. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it, and I'll see you guys very soon.